Okay, everybody. So what happened yesterday? What happened with the hashtag force to vote? Well, it started out AOC, Cori Bush, and Barbara Lee for Congress all did not vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. They didn't say anything. And so we all thought that they were withholding their vote. And it turns out they weren't because boom, and now they all voted for her. So every member of the squad voted for Nancy Pelosi. The only people who didn't vote for Nancy Pelosi were corporate Democrats, blue dogs and people like that. Though they were able to withhold their vote from Nancy Pelosi, the squad who ran on withholding their vote from Nancy Pelosi and forcing a floor vote on hashtag on Medicare for all. They ran on this. The time came they could do it. They didn't do it. They were the only ones who didn't do it. Corporate Democrats voted against her. So Pelosi reelected Speaker despite narrow majority. That is, then there's the ending to your shitty movie. There it is right there. I said shame on the House progressives for not fighting for force to vote and Medicare for all. What is the point of voting for progressives inside the Democratic Party again? They won't fight. They are selling you out and abandoning you. Shame. We are a failed state, as is the progressive movement. Kyle Kalinski's right when he says, I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for the left not to have organized in the last few years to mount a challenge to Nancy Pelosi. You know she's hostile to you and your goals, and she has a 28% approval rating. She's less popular than Trump by far. What the F were you doing this entire time? I'll tell you what they were doing, Kyle. Nothing. They weren't doing anything. It was obvious they weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything until a pothead comedian decided to bring it up a month before the speakership election. They weren't doing anything. They're still not doing anything. They weren't doing anything. This idea that they were negotiating behind the scenes. Now who's being naive? Kay? Are you kidding me? They negotiated behind the scenes and got nothing. Because if they got something, they would tell you. They told us we got PAYGO, and we all know PAYGO is 100% bullshit. 100%, no matter what anybody else tells you. I know a lot of people, well, that's important because we have to do it. That's bullshit. Don't listen to those people who tell you PAYGO was important. It's not fucking important. That's a self-imposed rule by Nancy Pelosi, and they could have told her get rid of that, and that could have been all. They could have did all of it. What is the point of getting rid of PAYGO if you're not going to have a floor vote on Medicare for all? There is no point. There's no point. And guess what? Nancy Pelosi loses the speakership. The Democrats lose the speakership in 2022 because Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi are the face of this party, two of the most hated politicians in the country. They're going to get wiped out in the House. And PAYGO rules get lost anyway. The Republicans rewrite all the rules. Yes. This is ridiculous. Anybody telling you that PAYGO is a win, that is ridiculous. That is a diversion. We got PAYGO, so this will enable Medicare for all. Are you going to do the Medicare for all? No. Then there's no point. You're bullshitting us. When Ryan Grimm came out, he was running interference for the squad, just like The Intercept does all the time. That's their role. That's their access journalism. That's what The Intercept does. That's what Ryan Grimm does. And everybody knew immediately that that was ridiculous. Dave Dayen knew it was ridiculous. Justin Jackson ratioed fucking, come on. Everybody knows that's ridiculous. Anybody who's trying to tell you that means something is not being candid. They have another reason for telling you that. They were doing nothing. Where the F were you doing? They were doing nothing. They were doing Rolling Stone and Vanity Fair cover shots with Nancy Pelosi.
Impeachment.
They were doing impeachment. They were calling Trump an MFer in public. That's what they were doing. They weren't doing anything we asked them to do. They were pushing Russiagate. That's what they've been doing. Ryan Knight says progressives in Congress shouldn't even be voting for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker in the first place, but to vote for her without demanding any concessions shows a complete lack of courage to stand up for the corrupt Democratic establishment. Hashtag force to vote. Some people think they were negotiating behind the scenes, and we just haven't found out what they got yet. Oh my God.
I've heard that.
Oh my God. So they got something, but they're keeping it a secret. Does anyone believe this shit? They got something, and it's great, but they're keeping it a secret. What? Here's a guy. I'm on my way to admitting patients this afternoon. This is a reminder that many physicians, nurses, and other healthcare workers think Medicare for all is needed now more than ever. Forced to vote, for crying out loud. This physician can't say it enough. So Cenk Uygur would tell that guy he doesn't understand how politics works, this doctor. I'm from a town hall around the corner from Mark Pocan's house right now with some other activists from the People's Party and our Wisconsin Revolution speaking out about leveraging progressive power when we actually have it. It's cold, but worth it.
Right on.
That's activism. Politicians like Representative Mark Pocan may see Medicare for all as a campaign slogan to run on and then discard at the first opportunity. But for my friend, it has always been a deeply personal issue, as it should be when 70,000 people die a year from lack of insurance. Read her sign. Her sign says, Representative Mark Pocan, my father died from lack of health care. Will you fight for me? That's what her sign says. Her dad died from lack of health care. Will you fight for her? I'm sorry. Cenk Uygur and the Justice Democrats will tell you now is not the time. That's what the Justice Democrats just told you, and Cenk Uygur. Now is not the time. That's what every one of them did. They told her, now is not the time to fight for your father. They canceled her. They're canceling us. They're being hostile to the movement that got them elected. They are committing violence against the people of America by denying them health care on purpose. They did that on purpose for their own careers. And if you can't look at a camera and say that, then you're not being candid. There's going to be another time when the squad's going to push for a Medicare for all vote. You know they're not, and I know they're not. Go tell that to this lady. We got a pay-go exemption. Go tell her. Mm-hmm. Go show her the video of AOC saying we got to cause a ruckus. We got to be willing. We can do this. All it takes is courage. And then show AOC saying we have to uphold the rule of law. She went from MLK to Nixon in 30 days. And you're not going to call that out? The way you put pressure on politicians is to scare them. The only reason this happened is because I scared them. Because I raised my voice and I was screaming outwardly the way everybody who lacks health care has been screaming inwardly. This woman is screaming inwardly the way I've been screaming outwardly, and that's why it got traction. That's how you fucking do a pressure campaign, not by sending them chocolates. We got to be nice to the people to get them to do what they fucking ran on. Are you out of your fucking mind? That we have to be nicer to them to get them to do what they fucking ran on? You're a cuck if you don't fucking hold their feet to the fire. They ran on it. The DSA, it's in their goddamn fucking manifesto that this is the centerpiece and they wouldn't get on it. Shame them. That's what fucking works. You think this happened because I was fucking nice to them? No.
Once
to fight the establishment. But I took them away from all that, and now they work for me. My name is Nancy.
Looks like the video glitched. So let's refresh it here. Looks like the video glitched. Let's refresh it and play it again, because this is kind of tells the tale. This kind of tells the tale of the entire stream, and many of us have seen this before, but we got to start out the right way. So let's see if it's gonna play. Twitter does act up, so it may stop again. I don't know, but let's see.
She went to Congress. And each promised to fight the establishment. But I took them away from all that, and now they work for me. My name is Nancy.
I don't think it's gonna play. I don't think it's gonna play, but that's okay. We got the Jimmy Dore clip in the beginning, so that's what Twitter does. I have been a victim of this very thing many times. The videos that I post some classic sort of Black Panther videos, and those of you maybe, hey, why haven't you reposted those in a while? Because they don't play all the way through anymore. They just stop at the no particular point. But anyway, you saw the Jimmy Dore clip. I thought that was good to play while you wait. And the reason being is because there's a contrast in the article we're going to be covering today. And this article just dropped today, early this morning. But let's first introduce our special guest for today, co-hosting with me for about 50 minutes or so, 55 minutes or so. We're going to be going through this AOC, and I needed a good person that could actually give me some rant energy, because this article deserves some rant energy. Welcome again to the show. What's up, Misty? How you doing?
Hey, yeah, I got rant energy for sure. That is something I definitely have. I'm good at that.
Yeah, because I just was like, wow, I can't believe they're writing this article again. But what it speaks to, because if you were we covering something similar to this, I just know that since the Freddie Deboer, I think that's how you say his name, article, and that's the article that said AOC is just another Democrat. Mm-hmm. There's been a flurry, and I'm using flurry to describe three, really, but there's been 3 articles that's been reaction articles about that article. So clearly somebody is shook about the article, and they're trying to kind of play cleanup, or they're in panic mode. But have you had a chance to read this article, or are you going in blind? The one we're going to
I'm going in blind a little bit. I took a quick glance at it. I read really fast, but to be fair, I didn't actually read. I just very much skimmed it. But the premise of it is absolutely ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Come on.
And that's essentially what the people in our orbit have been saying about the article, and I'll bring it up. It's a Jacobin article. I'll put the link in the description box in just a few moments, but it's a Jacobin article entitled AOC and the Squad's List of Left-Wing Accomplishments is quite long. Like they could have just said list of left-wing accomplishments. That's it. But to add, it's quite long. It's like now you're really trying to like freaking sell me a freaking a bag of beans here. What did you think of the title, and what was your overall reaction just from skimming it? What is your overall reaction before we get into the article here?
Well, I mean, I think everybody knows what my reaction to this bullshit is. This is ridiculous. And Jacobin's long been a joke. I mean, I don't think anybody's surprised by that. They've long, I mean, it's like, DSA PR, essentially. So they're a joke, and this is a joke. And she is, there's nothing left wing, nothing. Absolutely nothing left wing about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and anybody who is still pretending that she is anywhere. And I get it, like everybody's, oh, don't be a gatekeeper, but no, y'all, I will gatekeep the fuck out of these politicians. I don't want them anywhere near our movements. I don't want them anywhere near. Like somebody yelled at me about that the other day with Marianne Williamson. Oh, well, you shouldn't. I forget how they said it. Something about how Chris Hedges said that you don't have permanent allies, just permanent whatever.
Right.
Whatever he says. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Politicians are not ever going to be my ally. I don't trust them. They're not trustable. And they are very often working against us. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been openly and actively working against us at every turn. So the idea that I'm supposed to believe that she's some kind of left-wing hero, or that she's some kind of hero of the people, or that she doesn't deserve, this makes me joke. The left-wing vitriol, really? We're going to do that again? We're going to pretend like words are violence and that she's just, you have to, no, fuck her. I don't have to be nice to her. She sucks. And I don't feel bad about telling her that as often as possible. I don't know why anybody would.
I don't understand, like, what is the expectation that is of our reaction to people who took our money and didn't do anything? Like, what is the reaction supposed to be? And that was kind of like my first question, but let me read at least the caption they have here.
The first sentence. Okay, go ahead. No, the first sentence of this article.
It says, left-wing scrutiny of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the squad has veered from constructive criticism and needed pressure to a kind of cathartic vitriol. I'm saying that wrong, but everybody knows what I'm trying to say.
Characterish?
Yes. Caricature-ish. Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
It's a caricature. It's a caricature. So basically our vitriol is kind of like cartoonish is what they're trying to say here. One that says nothing about their accomplishments or usefulness to workers' movements. I mean, again, did they really need to add this in here? Like,
I mean, y'all, listen, when they busted up that railroad worker strike, I mean, that was very useful. That was incredibly useful. When she completely sold out Amazon and refused to go and help them out with their strike because it wasn't in her neighborhood, that was very useful to those workers. You know, she's very useful. Yes, totally, 100%.
Yeah, and to that point, like, I'm trying to determine, Misty, if the professional managerial class or whoever, I'm trying to understand if they think we are dumb or they're actually believing the Kool-Aid, like drinking the Kool-Aid. That's what I'm trying to decipher, because to say usefulness to workers a few months after they broke a strike, that's amazing to me. That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
So either you think the reader is so uninformed, or you believe the reason that Ryan Grimm gave, that that the workers wanted her to vote to break their strike, the railroad workers, that is.
Yeah, fuck Ryan Grimm too. I mean, let's just get that.
Yeah. Let me read the title, and I'm going to read it again. It says, AOC and the squad list of left-wing accomplishments is quite long. And it's a similar title, now that I think about it, of the previous one that was similar. And it was written in the New Yorker magazine. We just covered this last week. I can't even remember the name, but I'll take that down to bring up the actual article. But it's a similar name saying the left wing or the this is what it said. The AOC left has accomplished plenty. I think that might ring a bell for some people, but that was the title. And here is the article we're going to be covering. And this is the only item today. I wasn't even going to go live. I was literally, Misty, about to lay down and take a nap and say, let me catch up on some rest. And I go, let me do a last check of Twitter just in case somebody DM me. I need to respond about an interview or something. And I see Nick's tweet is the first thing I see with this article. And I'm like, what the hell is this?
Well, when you DM me and you're like, hey, can you join me to talk about this article? I was like, I had like 900, my kids just started back to school. I hadn't even showered from getting back from the gym yet. I'm like, I'm a hot mess, but I'm like, I can't miss this. We got to do this.
And I'm in the same situation where kids just started back to school this week.
Yeah.
So that's why I have a small window to even go live. But with the small window we have, let's get into this article, Misty. It's quite something. It's quite something. Let's just say that it's quite something. And so let's begin. As with any, actually, hang on one second here. Let me make sure I don't have any super chats that.
Oh yeah, hi to the chat.
To this, before I get started, and there goes one. Yeah, I want to shout out right here, and that's Eric House. Eric has been sending like a vast number of super chats, so it is great that you decided to become a member. Welcome aboard, sir. And let me put that up there.
Money well
and then
spent,
I think there was welcome aboard. And then there's one more. This one is from Meteor Dreams. I believe that's how you say it. Did you see Caleb Maupin go off on you guys yesterday? He called you guys grifters and talked a bunch of smack on Rome. It made me very angry. I did not see that.
I didn't either.
Caleb Maupin
on Twitter or on his show, because I've never watched any of his stuff ever.
Yeah, me either. So I'm not sure. I don't know personally Caleb Maupin. One of the other RBN members, knows of him, or maybe has interviewed him before, but no, I don't know him. And it doesn't bother me with people I don't know. I don't care. And considering some of the recent stuff that's happened to him, like, what do I need to respond to this person for what? But let's get to the article now that I got all the super chats out of the way. All right, so here we go. As with any elected official, and I'm going to just shorten her name anytime they spell her name out, AOC and the squad should be criticized when needed. But left-wing vitriol is unwarranted. It ignores the squad's many progressive accomplishments and their legislative aid to activist campaign. And I think you said this earlier. You said the very first sentence. So we got to stop right here.
Yes.
The very first sentence.
Not this sentence. I mean, this is like kind of a sub headline. The actual first sentence to this article is hilarious. It's hilarious.
Listen, this is the part that I kind of want to just bring up, and that is unwarranted.
It's warranted. Fully fucking warranted. And in fact, they don't get it enough, in my opinion. In fact, I wish that there were more people who were calling them out on a regular basis for their bullshit. As you mentioned earlier, they sold people a bill of goods and they promised the world, we're going to raise a ruckus. We're going to do all the things, right? We're going to get in there and we're going to fight. They don't even vote together. They openly tell you, no, we don't even vote together. We're not doing anything to use any of our political leverage whatsoever. They have failed us on every major issue. They're voting for more war. Come on, really? We're going to pretend like that's unwarranted? It's fully fucking warranted. Fully. 100% warranted. They took millions of dollars from people who don't have it to give on a promise that they were going to get in there and fight for us. And they absolutely fucking have not, period. Anybody trying to tell you that they have is lying to you. Straight up.
And as I'll take a point from Nick, and to me, Misty, that's worse.
Yeah.
Because in the grand scheme, in the broad view, we're thinking, oh, if you don't take money from corporations, you're better. Really? Because is it better to take money from corporations and do corporate bidding? Or is it better to take money from working class and poor people and do corporate bidding?
Well, to be fair, though, they do take corporate money. It's not hard for them to do. For example, Nancy Pelosi donated to Ilhan Omar's reelection campaign. Where do you think that money comes from? It's from corporations. So there's lots of like little Weasley ways that they can, kind of take that money in different, you know what I mean? They're not as clean as they pretend to be on the financial aspect of things. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They took a whole shit ton of money from the average American person and promised that they were going to go fight for us, and have not at all.
Right. And then want to come back to the well after not delivering on anything, and not only not delivering, and I think it was David Sirota, so I'll take him as his word as a reporter. When he interviewed AOC, he said, you have voted 91% with Joe Biden. 91. What's the difference?
There is
what's literally the difference here? What's literally the difference, Misty? It's literally no difference, but let's continue with the article.
Pelosi. She's baby Nancy Pelosi. Straight up.
And I really do believe that's what she's being groomed to be.
Yes.
I really do believe that's what she's being groomed to be, but it's tough being a member of the squad these days. Is that a joke? It's tough. Writing books. It's tough, Misty. Writing books and going to galas.
Yeah, making hundreds of thousands of dollars to do absolutely fuck all. You know who it's hard for? You know who it's tough for? Rome, trying to build a library in his community. It's hard for you trying to raise your kids in economic turmoil. It's hard for JP trying to deal with his health issues when he can't, afford to pay for anything and his rent's getting raised and he's got to crowdfund for medication and shit. That's who it's hard for. If you expect me to feel sorry for any member of the fucking squad, you got me fucked up. That's not ever gonna happen. No.
But yeah, so I get you right here. It's tough being a member of the squad. That's classic. That should be put on a shirt. Yeah. With the word psych at the end, I guess. Once the darlings of actually we should do that because we're working on doing our merchandise store. And right now, the only thing holding us up is trying to find, of course, union, non-sweatshop t-shirts. You get what I'm saying? That's the tough part we're finding. So if anybody knows, email us, info@revblacknetwork.com. If you know of anybody, union made t-shirts, non-sweatshop, paid well, email us and then we'll give them a tryout. But let's continue. Where was I? Once the darlings of the American left, the group of progressive and socialist House members that include AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, and others. I think I will include. Are we missing? Ayanna Pressley initially. I guess will complete this group for me.
I mean, that was always weird to me. She literally was a Hillary Clinton surrogate, and people tried to lump her in as like some lefty member of the squad. She's never been, I don't even think she's really progressive. I mean,
you're talking about Ayanna Pressley, right? Because I was going to say the same thing.
She trashed Bernie Sanders. She was a huge Hillary Clinton surrogate and supporter. Like, she's not. That was always a weird addition to the quote unquote squad. But I think they were just trying to, boost the numbers and tick off some boxes.
Make it seem like it was bigger than it was.
Mm-hmm.
Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, and others are likely. Hang on a second. Wow. I don't know how I missed this sentence right here when I read this earlier. Maybe I just don't remember. But let me rewind back. Includes AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, and others are as likely to be savage these days from the left as they are from the right. And I must raise my hand. I'm one of those from the left that's trying to savage them. And here's where you and I and the rest of RBN and, you know, the Convo Couch and Nico House and Jimmy Dore, this is where we come in. And I can't, you know, do dissidents and Heartlands Media. Popular YouTube commentators regularly denounce them as sellouts. Protesters interrupt their meetings, calling them warmongers. That's
accurate.
Jose Vega. Shout out to Jose Vega.
Yep.
And even committed socialists question what the point of the squad has been.
Yeah,
and
those are all valid points.
You just took the words right out. I was just about to say, you're saying it as if this is not a valid reaction to
100% valid.
See.
Yeah.
Right. The lion's share of this IRA has been trained on AOC, who's faced relentless criticism since winning office from all sides.
She's such a victim.
Yes. She's had so much violent words coming at her, I guess, like loser and a grifter. Sometimes over substantive issues. I always have issue with that word. Once failing to show up for an Amazon union rally, casting a vote that denied rail workers the ability to strike, sometimes over remarkably petty ones, conciliatory rhetoric, and the positioning of her hands while being arrested. We're not going to get through this article if we have to break down each part here. So let's
this is like Max Blumenthal trying to get through Kennedy's bullshit on
HBO. Exactly.
It's literally every sentence. Yeah.
Exactly. That is the feeling I'm getting. But sometimes more important issues, since I have a trouble saying that word all the time, I'll say more important issues, failing to show up at a union rally. So at least the article acknowledging that is a big issue and also casting a vote. And then I can
name at least a dozen more right off the top of my head.
A dozen more that would fall into the important issue category. Yeah. What it substantially outweighs what they describe as remarkably petty ones, because conciliatory rhetoric, calling Joe Biden, that's important. That's not small. No. Calling Joe Biden doing like he's doing good. He's a great progressive. None of that to me. That's I would lift that up. Positioning her hands. They're talking about the fake arrest.
That was some funny shit. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are a staunch AOC supporter. That was some funny shit, and she deserved to be roasted for it.
Yeah, because that was because to me, vitriol has a more anger.
That was just she's getting made fun of. That's not vitriol.
Yeah, that was more of just like
you're getting
made fun of. Yeah, like you just like on Friday when Deboer got knocked out. You got knocked the fuck out. Like that's it. Like it's nothing else other than that.
Yeah.
Much of this crystallized in a recent critical analysis of AOC's record in New York Magazine by Freddie Deboer. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Actually, I don't think I said it, but this is part of one of the listed topics in promoting this. And I'll let me cut to that real quick because it's talking about it in an article. So a couple of things I thought for sure we're going to be covering. And the first thing I have listed, the fallout from the Freddie Deboer article continues. And that's what this is, because this is like Article 3. At least I can say this is Article 3 that we've covered on RBN. And then left-wing commentators is the cause of all of the AOC hate, I guess. That's us, and I'll wear that as a badge of honor if they want to give us that. And the professional managerial class left is in panic mode over the collapse of the narrative of AOC. Do you sort of get that with the feeling with these articles that they're coming out with, that they're sort of in panic mode about this? It feels different, like the down time for progressives where we haven't been happy, even with the Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. I know you weren't really a part of that.
No.
Bernie Sanders stealing of the election. It feels different. It feels like the people saying I'm done with this shit.
Yeah.
There's people that say that, and then they end up going back. It feels like there's a lot more people that's not going to be going back to that.
Well, there's an election coming up, so of course I don't know if they're panicking necessarily, but they're definitely trying to control the narrative. They're definitely trying to ensure that they can continue to facilitate the funneling of revolutionary energy into a completely corrupted party and electoral process. And so, yeah, that's what these articles are doing. They're trying to retain some of her street cred, trying to make sure that, they're not, she's not now seen as just a liberal, which I think anybody with 2 eyes and 2 brain cells that she is 100% a liberal. Like she is, like I said, she's baby Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she's voting with Joe Biden 91% of the time. She's supporting war. She's supporting big pharma. She's supporting the intelligence community. I mean, what else do you need? She won't fight for healthcare. She won't fight. Remember, she told us she couldn't fight for healthcare because $15 an hour was more doable. And then when it came time to fight for $15 an hour, she didn't fucking do that either. But yeah, she's a real help to the working class. She's so useful. Get fucked.
That is such a great point. Let's continue here. So much of this was crystallized in a recent critical analysis of AOC's record in New York Magazine by Freddie Deboer, who charged she has drifted, and this is a quote from the article, from radical outsider to establishment liberal. End quote. That to me, I mean,
she didn't drift anything.
Now, I was just about to say, you're giving her a lot of credit by calling her radical outsider.
She was never.
But establishment liberal, I don't have any issue. I just see it as it's the same person. You know that meme of the guy from Scooby Doo, and they take his mask off. Yeah. So under AOC has always been this establishment liberal or wannabe, and now it's just her initiation is over, and she has now crossed over. She put the tassel to the other side.
Yeah, she's just. I think she's. It's harder for her to maintain that kind of image because her actions don't meet that at all. So that was the image that was presented when she initially ran. Radical outsider, right? She's going to go and she's going to cause a ruckus and she's going to fight. She's going to fight the corruption in the Democratic Party. Y'all, the second she got elected, she immediately stopped talking about the corruption in the Democratic Party. And all she does now is talk about Republicans. And she has never once really in any substantive way challenged her own party on anything. She's never been a radical outsider. Y'all, she interned for Ted Kennedy. You don't get an internship with Ted Kennedy if you're just a bartender. That's not a thing that happens. So yeah, she's always been a manufactured candidate. Always.
It's good to have you on for this too, because I was awake or woke, if we want to use that, to AOC before everybody else, but I wasn't before you. Like you was before anybody else I know. So it's good to be able to have somebody go, yeah, that was bullshit from the beginning, and be able to say this is why, because that's good. Because back when AOC was stomping for Bernie Sanders in 2020, was it 2020? The last year, I guess it has been 3 years. Wow, I can't believe this. But in 2020, I was tweeting that, I don't buy this shit from her at all.
No.
Yeah, I was already tweeting that, but you was way before that too. So
I took a lot of shit for it too. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people unfollowed me, blocked me, yelled at me. Same thing happened when I went after Bernie Sanders immediately following 2016. So I'm used to it. But yeah, people were not happy with me for coming.
That's what happens when you're ahead. That's literally what happens when you're ahead of the curve. That's literally what happens. We were getting a lot of that about Marianne Williamson. About 6 months ago, we were getting a lot of that. So let's continue. All right. So to establishment liberal, making mere, this is another quote, token gestures of resistance to solidify the illusion that she is a gadfly. What is that? Do you know what that means? I can look that up in a second.
A gadfly? Oh no, I don't really. I've heard it before. I don't really know. I don't think I've ever really paid attention. I don't hear it often. Jacobin likes to use those kind of
Yeah, it signals to the professional managerial class. This is written by a
Oh,
professional
it's
managerial class.
an annoying person, especially one who provokes others into action by criticism.
Okay. All right. So we learn a new word. I'm that type, everybody. Sorry that I
Yeah.
stop and I look up the meaning.
We got some vocabulary today.
Yes. And I hope I'm saying it right. Gadfly. It sounds like
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying it
right.
right.
No,
It
I've
looks
heard it
like
before. I've just never paid attention, really.
Okay. And argue that her and the rest of the squad's entry into Congress has been entirely fruitless. And I agree with that assessment, and lots of people did. That's why that article absolutely went viral on Twitter, and a bunch of people covered it online, including Bad Faith. She actually had the writer on. Katie Halper had the writer on her show. Somebody else. Circular Talk with Kyle, all based on this article. This is what I mean by there's a panic going on.
Mm-hmm.
But this is hard to square with both a closer analysis of AOC and the squad's record and with the picture painted by progressive groups and unions that work with her. So they're trying to say other progressive groups and unions say something else, try to give them cover by saying other people who are in the fight are saying that. But let's see who they talk about. Have they occasionally fallen short? Sure. Anytime somebody's asking themselves a question, I don't know about that. Especially somebody when they're trying to defend somebody that's indefensible. Let me say it that way, because I do that too sometimes, send a question and answer it. Have they occasionally fallen short? Sure. But the reality of the squad's accomplishments and movement importance is far more positive than the one-dimensional, gloomy narrative that has become popular in some corners of the left. So the writer of this article, Misty, is saying, just like the people who are pushing Bidenomics, the squad is doing good things. They just got a bad messaging team. The Biden is doing great in the economy. It's just bad messaging why nobody's buying it, and why people are having these opinions of them. So next part of the article, a tremendous win. I guess they start to go into accomplishments. Let's see what they're labeling as accomplishments. First, there's lawmaking. AOC's legislative record is not nearly as barren as her detractors have it. You need to take a breath.
She's the least productive member of Congress.
Yes, there's an article.
There's
literally an article about that. Go ahead.
Okay, anyway. You're great things, guys. Promise.
Yeah, much like Bernie Sanders, the Congresswoman has been able to sneak through the cumbersome legislative process by putting forward amendments to larger bills. For example, one successful 2019 amendment 4 years ago, let's make sure we understand that's 4 years ago, cut $5 million from the Drug Enforcement Administration budget and redirected it to treatment programs for opioid crisis. A year later, she managed to get her repeal of the 1998 Fair Cloth Amendment passed through the House, a landmark vote and longtime priority for affordable housing advocates, giving Bill Clinton era measure effective ban on new public housing construction. Oops, had to pop up here. Now, let's continue before I give my critique of these. Another from 2022 mandated the Pentagon study the therapeutic uses of MDMA and hallucinogens. Sometimes AOC and the squad have made contributions by blocking legislation instead of passing it. I can't believe they said that last part. So let's go to some of the things that they say that she has done and put it in perspective of the things that she hasn't, the bad things she has done.
Yeah.
So let's say we're going to give her all credit, because there will be some that would say, all of this stuff they're listing shouldn't even belong all to her. But let's just say they all belong to her. All the credit belongs to her as they're trying to make this appear like 2019 amendment, $5 million, drug enforcement redirected to treatment centers of opioid crisis.
How about healthcare?
Let me ask you this, Misty. How's the opioid crisis going?
It's worse than ever.
Is it getting better or worse? Is it getting worse or better since 2019?
No, it's getting worse. Much worse.
So is this 5 million? Is this a drop in the bucket? Is that more closely of, again, these are crumbs. They're trying to make it seem like crumbs is worth the disaster that they brought.
Well, and it really just goes into the same the pockets of the same people. I mean, you know what I mean? They give you a problem, the opioid crisis, and then they sell you the solution. And it's really all funneled back in. Who do you think runs the treatment programs? You know what I'm saying? Like it's all just like this circle jerk of corruption. And it's, what about healthcare? Can we not just get healthcare for people and then include treatment for drug addiction and alcoholism and all of those things in that healthcare? No, we can't do that. But she's going to throw a Band-Aid on a dead body and tell you that it's a win. She's real good at that. She's real good at like, she'll flick some crumbs in your general direction and then call it a win. She's real good at that.
Mm-hmm. And then the Fair Cloth Amendment that passed through the House, a landmark vote. Again, the description of landmark vote. These are outsized sort of descriptions of what this should be. These are crumbs that should not even be all attributed to her.
No. So
that's two. And then, of course, this 2022 mandate that Pentagon to study the therapeutics of what? The harm being done by the vote that she cast to send millions to Ukraine?
Right. And she just keeps voting for the ridiculous budgets and all. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. Listen, I'm all for the study of therapeutic uses of MDMA and hallucinogens. I think there is legit something there, and we need to be looking at that in particular for people with things like PTSD, our soldiers coming home from war. I think that it can also be used as a way to help people who are actually dealing with drug addiction. I think that can help them deal with some of the underlying issues, and it can help get them in a better headspace through therapeutic dosage. But I'm all for that. So I'm not trying to like poo-poo that, but it's like one of those things where it's like a crumb that she's kind of flicked in your general direction, and she expects you to overlook all of the other terrible things that she's doing and the war budgets that she's voting for. And she's like, oh, but I want them to study MDMA. Okay. Thanks. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm sure that the kids of Syria will really thank you for that. You know what I mean? Great.
Right. It's I mean, let me think of a good analogy for it in a second. I'll tell you, everybody. Sometimes AOC and the squad have made contributions by blocking legislations instead of passing it. Like, oh, you mean like blocking Nancy Pelosi and get Medicare for all, the floor vote? Oh, she didn't do that.
Oh, wait, you mean about the Iron Dome? No. She didn't do that either.
She didn't do that either.
She didn't do that either.
She didn't do that. Blocking any funding to the Ukraine?
No, she didn't do that either. Oh, wait, I bet she voted for there to be like an audit of the money. Oh, no, she didn't do that either. No, that would
no. So there you go. Sean Vicka, Policy Counsel for Demand Progress, told Jacobin the squad, and particularly Representative Tlaib, were instrumental in a major 2019, again, 4 years ago, victory against mass surveillance. I can't believe they have the audacity to bring it. Victory against mass surveillance when they forced through the end of the Patriot Act, Section 215. The controversial provision had allowed the warrantless collection of broad swaths of business records, everything from banking and library history to medical records, and most controversially, phone metadata, and drew particular outrage when the Edward Snowden leaks revealed just how badly it was being abused to spy on Americans. So this is what they're saying. So here we go. This policy council demand person, whoever this person is, says the person was instrumental. What does that mean? What does that tangibly mean, Misty? The person was instrumental in getting something passed. What does that mean? Somebody in Congress or on Capitol Hill named Sean Vicka, whom we're supposed to, I guess, give all our trust in his description, says she was instrumental in getting this done. Now, is this a good thing to get out? This is the same thing you said
They're
earlier.
still doing all of this shit.
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing stops.
This is good, but is this a good trade-off? Is this trade? This is the question, Misty. Is this trade-off good or a adequate trade-off for the bad stuff they're doing?
No, because
these little
they didn't
things
accomplish
that they're
anything. This didn't. They're still doing this shit. There's still an unbelievable mass surveillance system. They're still collecting your banking records and your phone metadata and all of this stuff. All this was performative. This was very superficial. Again, it was one of those things where it's smoke and mirrors. They want to like put up the show for you and be like, looky, we got to win. All of this shit continued. They're still doing it today. So there is no trade-off. They got nothing here. And in fact, most of them won't even mention Edward Snowden. You know what I'm saying? They're not advocating for him to be pardoned. They're not advocating for him to be allowed to be brought home. That's what I'm saying. Like all of this stuff they're very good at this. Politicians are very good at this. They understand the game and they know how to present things in a way where for the uninitiated, for people who are not paying attention and who just take people at their word or whatever, if somebody tells you, hey, we got this thing done, most people will just believe you at face value. And they know that. And so they're very good at presenting these things to you as if it's some kind of a win, when in fact, if you're paying attention and you know anything about what all of this stuff means, it's not. They really don't get anything accomplished. It's all very, like I said, it's like a soap opera, but with psychopaths. That's all it is. It's a show.
Now listen to this. So they do kind of go into, I guess this is what Rashida Tlaib did. Let's listen, or let's read through. When time came to reauthorize the Patriots Act's many sunset provisions in 2019, according to Vicka, Tlaib served as, quote, one of the key organizers, Misty, of a congressional letter.
A strongly worded letter.
Signed by 20 House Democrats, including herself and fellow squad member Omar and AOC, vowing to oppose it unless certain privacy protections were ensured. They wrote a letter. So when I said, what do you mean instrumental? This is it. This is the credit. This is the stuff that we're supposed to say, oh, wow, we've been too hard on them. I don't get it, but let's try to get through some more time.
Wait till this next sentence. This is my favorite part.
Oh, good Lord. Quote, Tlaib helped lead one of, if not the earliest efforts staking out what reform would be necessary to allow the Patriot Act to continue.
The Patriot Act shouldn't fucking continue. There is no reforming the Patriot Act. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
The idea that is seen as some kind of a win. Oh, well, she did a stakeout of what reform needed to happen in order to allow the Patriot Act to continue. That's a fucking loss. Take your L, sis. The Patriot Act should be lit on fire. You know what I'm saying? This is not a win. There is no reforming the Patriot Act. It is absurd that this is being couched as a win. No, thank you. No.
Yeah. Rashida Tlaib is the type that's saying, let's reform Guantanamo Bay. Let's reform it, guys. Not get rid of it. All right. The end result, Section 215 and two other controversial provisions finally expired. After then, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in May 2020 pulled the reauthorization bill, realizing that opposition from progressive Democrats and Freedom Caucus Republicans meant the votes weren't there. So are we giving credit to the squad or the Freedom Caucus Republicans?
I guess both, but I mean, we're not supposed to work with people we don't agree with, so that seems weird. Maybe she loves fascist. She must be a Nazi.
They're banking a lot on this guy speaking fondly of this strongly worded letter that they wrote.
Yeah.
Here's another quote. This was a tremendous win, says Vitka. I'll be damned. Let me say it in his voice. Quote, I'll be damned if that isn't one of the biggest success in terms of protecting the privacy interests of the U.S. public, end quote. No, maybe Julian Assange, maybe a ton of other shit, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. They're still spying on you guys. Your privacy interests have not been protected. Nobody's protected your privacy. Nobody, not a single person has done anything. I should say, no member of Congress, no member of government. I mean, to be fair, I think Thomas Massie has tried some things. I think Rand Paul, as much as I dislike him greatly, for personal reasons. Nobody. There's nobody who's fighting for your privacy. Nobody. Not in government.
Not a single one.
No.
I'll read a little more. Then I'm going to play a video for the last few minutes. You're going to be here. I'll read a little more here.
I can hang out till like 5:30-ish.
Okay, so then I'll read some more, and I'll still play video, but I'll read a lot more of it. We'll be able to possibly finish this, actually. Anti-imperialists assists.
Anti-imperialists. God damn it.
It's the ability of the professional managerial class to divide crumbs. It's like, it's a little crumb, and they want to go, let me half that shit up. Here you go. Like, it's that ability to be able to do that. But let's read more. Critics have pointed to AOC and the rest of the squad support for continual military aid to Ukraine to charge their counterfeit and anti-imperial, to charge their, I'm sorry, it should have been worded differently. As a writer, you should write this differently, but I'll read it as it's written. To Ukraine to charge their counterfeit anti-imperialists or even war hawks.
Because they are.
Because before we see it, I'm trying to understand how is it? Are you going to be able to prove that their continuous support to aid to Ukraine doesn't mean they're anti-imperialists?
No, you can't. Those two
I don't understand how they're
together. No,
right?
No,
I don't see how they're going to be able to combat that. But let's see. But important as it is, the Ukraine war is not the only pressing foreign policy issue. You notice how they skip over that? Let's skip over the elephant in the room and let's go talk about these mice in the corner.
Well, and again, you're about to get some more crumbs. Here they come. You ready? You ready for some crumbs? If you're hungry, here we go.
Take Latin America, for instance. AOC was, after Omar, the second member of Congress to declare the 2019 Bolivian coup what it was, a coup. Beating even Sanders by a couple of hours. Is this serious?
Seriously? You want me to give them credit for calling a coup a coup? Have you lost your fucking mind? No, you don't. You get zero credit for that. That is just an obvious statement of fact. And in fact, if we really want to go there, when she was asked very directly by Max Blumenthal about the obvious coup taking place in Venezuela, she deferred first. She totally dodged the question. We're working on a statement. It took ages for her to come out with a statement. And then when she did, we defer to caucus leadership. You defer to caucus leadership on a fucking coup? Okay, fine. You called the Bolivian coup a coup. What? Okay, it's what it was. You get no credit for just telling the truth. Really? That's how low your bar is? It's mind-blowing. This is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Oh.
This is to your point, but it's the same area, but a different part of it. They're supposed to get credit for beating Bernie Sanders, the other cuck. They're supposed to get credit, Misty, for beating him by a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Is that real? Is that real? Beating
That's
even
real.
Sanders by a couple of hours and staking out a position that's somehow still a minority opinion in U.S. politics.
Yeah.
In fact, she further introducing an amendment banning the transfer of weapons and crowd control equipment to coup regimes. She's getting credit for something that should be obvious.
Yeah.
In anything. Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, didn't they also? I'm pretty
God.
sure she follows Juan Guaido. So not only did she defer to caucus leadership on the coup in Venezuela, but then she also essentially recognized Juan Guaido as like the de facto president of Venezuela. I'm pretty sure that they all did that. They all went along with that bullshit. I'm pretty sure.
I'm just amazed, but it is something that I've been noticing that that they've been doing this the whole time, but I have now picked up their pattern. Or I mean, we've all have. It's not anything special about me, but picked up their pattern of their descriptions, their adjectives, their way of describing something is always outsized from what it is. It's always like blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
It's like they always take a crumb to FedEx Kinko's and say, make this, poster size so I can show everybody what I did. And it's like, that is freaking a crumb. But let me continue. And to finish the sentence, it said language that made it into the bill that passed. So language that said, don't transfer weapons to coup regimes. I guess.
Except she votes for arming and funding Ukraine. That's a coup regime.
Right.
Straight up. That is a coup regime. So she's a ginormous hypocrite.
She's been similarly out front when it comes to Colombia, where leftist president Gustavo Petro has been struggling to enact his agenda amid entrenched opposition, a divided Congress, and drug-fueled violence. In 2022, this is something recent, more recent, 2 of AOC's amendments made it into the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act that passed the House. They're talking about the Authorization Act that was almost $900 billion, Misty. Are they talking about that? You're talking about getting some crumbs in on something that is almost $900 billion.
Yeah, and read what the crumbs are too, because one of it's just, you gotta produce a report.
Look at this. Okay, so let's continue. 1, directing the State Department to produce a report, their version of strongly worded letter, I guess, on U.S. involvement in U.S. involvement in human rights violations during the country's decade-long civil war, and another prohibiting any Pentagon involvement in anti-narcotic aerial fumigation operations in the country. What?
So
the
what she's
Pentagon
saying is,
can't be involved in any spraying of. Go ahead.
Yeah, if they're growing, if somebody's growing drugs, she wants the Pentagon to not have any involvement in fumigating operations, because that can contaminate water sources. So, which I'm sure the Pentagon is totally gonna listen to that. And also, if you continue in the next paragraph, this is something that was already in place by Petro. She just put her stamp of approval on it, I guess. Again, crumbs. Like this is
crazy.
A report.
This is crazy.
And an amendment to prohibit the Pentagon from messing with drug dealers. We are the drug dealers.
Okay, so how about this, writer of this article? Any of these things you're listing as accomplishments, are any of these the things they promised they would get done on the campaign trail and when they were asking for money?
0.
Was any of these things?
No.
None of these things are these things that you're listing, these crumbs. Again, This is the professional managerial class. They take crumbs, they take a picture of it, They head down to the local FedEx Kinko and blow that shit up into a poster and say, "Look what we did."
And not only is this not anything that they ran on, that they promised, that they, was part of their campaign, none of this, but the things that were promises that they've made, that were campaign slogans, that were all of those things that they claimed to be fighting for so that you would go out and donate and vote for them, they don't even talk about that stuff. I mean, if you notice, in between elections, from 2020 to now, zero. There's been zero talk about Medicare for all, healthcare. Zero. They don't talk about it. Like everyone, it was years. It was like probably a year and a half, 2 years, where I think maybe AOC mentioned it like 2 or 3 times. And now suddenly we got an election coming up. So just you wait. My prediction is we're going to start hearing a lot more about Medicare for all. And I think we've already seen it from Pramila Jayapal.
With her bill.
Yeah, well, the bill that she refused to fight for because it would kill the movement.
Yeah, ain't that something?
Yeah,
ain't that something? They really think we're idiots.
Yeah,
Misty. They really don't think we have all of our marbles at all. Hang on 1 second. Are you going to play volleyball or something? Okay. All right.
I want to go play volleyball.
My 13-year-old has taken up volleyball, so she's.
I love volleyball. I couldn't play it because it interfered with softball, and that was my jam. But
yeah,
I'm tall, so I'm pretty good.
Yeah, my daughter's a taller female, so that's why we got her into volleyball. So, but anyway, let's continue with the article. Where did we leave off? It was right here.
Yeah.
In 2022, two of her amendments made it into the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act. Wait, no, I did read this already. My bad, everybody. This is the second one right here I'm supposed to be reading. And another prohibiting any Pentagon involvement in anti-narcotic aerial fumigation operations in the country, which have contaminated water sources and caused serious health problems for Colombians. Now, this is not stopping it. It's the Pentagon. She doesn't want them participating in it. So the article sort of gives them credit. The way they're trying to phrase it as this is what these things do, but what she did didn't stop this.
No.
Supposedly they didn't. And the Pentagon always tell us the truth. Right, Misty, when they're involved in stuff, they always tell us. So her saying this into law, that stops them.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're totally going to listen. 100%. And I'm sure that the CIA wouldn't take up that slack if they did happen to, no, that's not going to happen. And again, this is all, we're pretending that, again, we're not the drug dealers because we absolutely are. This is a known fact that, the CIA has been funneling drugs into this country for a very long time. I don't think they're going to stop. I don't know. It's a big money maker for them. I'm pretty sure they're going to continue doing that.
Since the latter policy had already been put in place, as they admit right here, by the embattled Pedro, AOC amendment was effectively a signal of U.S. support for his move, one that got significant press coverage in the country. 34 Colombian senators wrote to the U.S. colleagues urging them to adopt the measure, and when they were left out of the Senate version, a coalition of progressive groups as well as Colombian human rights organizations wrote Congress urging they be taken up partly on the basis of supporting the Colombian government's effort. It's a vivid illustration of the way the squad's presence in Congress, this is their, because it didn't go through. They took it out, right? Because I was just about to say, how was this credit when they took it out? It's that their very presence, them being there, reinforced the work of both outside groups and left-wing movements abroad. This is again going to Kinko's with a picture of a crumb and blowing it up into a poster. Here's a quote. it might not matter to those sitting in wealthy countries and posting online. That's us. But in the countries faced with harmful policies enacted by the U.S. or their allies, seeing prominent politicians speak out can give hope and momentum to these people's movement. You mean like Palestine? You mean like Palestine? This person who's quoting. What about that?
Yeah. What about that? What about that? You know, all that anti-imperialist, what they call them, anti-imperialist
assist.
Anti-imperialist assist. I'm sorry, my friends. I've been dealing with Kennedy supporters on this. You cannot be a Zionist. You cannot support Israel and call yourself an anti-imperialist. The two things are mutually fucking exclusive. Period. You cannot. You cannot. You're not an anti-imperialist. You need to stop using that word. It does not describe you. And it is mind-blowing to me that that needs to be explained to people. They're not anti-imperialist. She's anti-imperialist. The idea that they even included anti-imperialist assist in this fucking article as they're all voting to arm neo-Nazis in Ukraine. It's crazy.
Ain't that something? That's literally them telling you, you guys, the readers are stupid, and whatever we write, you're gonna believe because we got degrees, and you're gonna believe us. I'm gonna skip down to this part just for the sake of time. I do want to cover some more of this article, and if you want to go read more, some of the parts that we skipped, the article is already in the description box. You can go ahead and check it out in the description box already. But let's move down to this part where it says upside, inside out. Meanwhile, AOC and the squad are uniquely responsive to unions and outside groups, according to those who have worked with them. This is why I wanted to skip down here. They weren't responsive to force the vote. They weren't They didn't show up to the Medicare for All rally. And even in this own article, Misty Jacobin admits it. Yeah. Didn't they just say this way up when I just read? They said, and they listed this as a big thing. They didn't list this as one of the trivial things. They listed as one of the big things was not showing up to an Amazon protest or strike. I can't remember how they phrased it. Yeah. But then they have the audacity later on in the article to say AOC and the squad uniquely responds to union and outside groups according to those who have worked with them.
This is Joe Biden continuing to say that he's the most labor-friendly president. It's bullshit. I can call myself whatever I want, right? If I repeat it enough, some people will believe it. And that's exactly what this is. They just want you, they know that a lot of people, I don't mean to condescend to people. I think that the average American person does not have time like you and I to really dig into this stuff and to really examine people's records. It sucks, but that's just the reality of it. So a lot of people in this country will read an article like this and walk away from it like, oh yeah, she is really for the people, because they don't have the time to actually look into her record and all of that stuff. So this stuff flies with those people. I guess in a way, when you said, do they think that you're dumb? Yeah, they're counting on it. They're counting, not dumb. I mean, they're counting on people not having the context, the knowledge here that kind of that's underneath the surface. They want you to look surface level and just believe what we tell you. Like you said, come on, we got fancy degrees. We wouldn't lie to you. They're lying to you. Responsive to unions, responsive to union leadership, maybe. That's about all I've seen.
Yeah, that's really what they are responsive to. And let's continue a little more. These are so now they're going into the people that say AOC's great in the squad. Let's see who they list. Here's a quote. AOC herself in her first weeks in office, again, this is 2018, reached out to me when people really bought into AOC the most.
Yeah.
So let's reach back then. Reached out to me and came to my office for a meeting. She's the only member of Congress who's ever done that. That's the end of the quote? And you move on? What? Okay, you got to have more. Okay, let's see. She's here for 2 hours talking through issues, trying to learn what was important to us. AOC Nielsen adds, AOC has solicited information from and worked with the unions to try to ensure its priorities were represented through the Federal Aviation's reauthorization process. Still, it's nothing.
Again,
They're
this is from
tangible.
when
This
she
is just essence.
very first took office, and she came
Yes.
and she sat with you for 2 hours, and I'm supposed to give her credit for that. Really?
Okay.
I'll come sit with you for 2 hours.
And
You
then
know
this
what I mean?
quote, I have her chief of staff on my cell phone,
Wow.
says Deputy Director of Food and Water Action, Mitch Jones. We found her office to be responsive when we needed them to be. Food and Water Watch criticized AOC's Green New Deal resolution at the time for failing to eliminate fossil fuels directly, criticism that was met with policy response. Really? They've outlawed some fossil fuels?
No.
Quote, after hearing feedback from us, she introduced the Fracking Ban Act. Not everyone who supported the Green New Deal was willing to take on the fossil fuel in that way. She introduced a bill. Did the bill pass?
She doesn't even talk about. No, she doesn't even talk about it. When's the last time you heard her talk about the Green New Deal? Legit. When is it? When is the last time that she's ever really like had a serious conversation? And the Green New Deal, really? We could get into that. We don't have time, but we could get into that. The Green New Deal is a fucking joke. It is an abomination. It is a giveaway to corporations. That's what that is. It is the ACA. But for the environment, you know what I'm saying? Like it is a giveaway. It's a giveaway. I mean, I think Whitney Webb did a fantastic fucking article on this, just obliterating it. Highly recommend it. It's like years old. I'll see if I can find it real quick so you can throw it in the chat. I think it's called, I forget, something with the Green New Deal in it, but the Green New Deal is a joke. And if anybody wants me to give her credit for that, no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. No.
So I want to play a couple of videos before you have to get out of here. And then I'm going to get back to the article after you have to take off, and I'll finish up any loose ends of the article. But let's play a couple of clips concerning AOC, and the field and what people have been saying.
AOC, Cori Bush, and all of them say that they don't take corporate PAC. They don't take any of that money. They don't beg. They don't do that. They want to legislate. They want to spend their time doing that. Great. So that means that you can spend your extra time out here organizing. Again, DC has the highest homeless rate per capita. We are out here feeding people. Y'all don't uplift that type of stuff, but AOC can be at the Met Gala in a dress that says tax the rich. What's next? Like, they've been saying tax the rich. They've been wearing all these cool clothes. They've been making all the tweets for a really long time. And, I asked Alex this to her face. I asked her, I said, why not challenge the power of a Democratic Party in a real way? Because every single time they want to throw you under the bus for their own interests, they do that because they don't respect you or they don't respect our principles and our policies. I'm really just tired of performance. I'm ready to have conversations about like what it looks like to move from, the continuum of care system that we have to more of a housing first system. There have already been studies in New York City. There have already been studies in Denver that show that housing first works, and that when you invest in people, you end up spending less money in the long run because they start to become self-sustainable in that way. I really would have loved to see something more impactful, or maybe her just boycotting going to the Met Gala altogether, because it's a display of insane wealth, and there are people that are getting evicted right now. There are people that are starving. Before the pandemic, 46% of children in lower income houses were food insecure. So we have so many things that we could be having conversations about. There are so many things that could be starting conversations about to really challenge the nucleus of this government's power, which is the financial and war power. And we are just continuously having these like culture conversations. That's how I feel about the dress. But it was a nice cut, though. Her design.
So,
yay, Afeni!
Yes.
And while she
reaction...
was in that stupid, ridiculous dress, while she was in there hanging out with a bunch of really super rich people, there were protesters outside getting brutalized by cops. I mean, if that doesn't say it all, I don't know what does. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also, in terms of the Green New Deal,
but we're supposed to overlook that. We're supposed to overlook that.
And give her credit because she put tax the rich on her dress. Really? And the Green New Deal thing, it doesn't even address the military industrial complex. Not one time. Not one single fucking time does it even mention the military industrial complex, which is by far the worst polluter on planet Earth. It's not even close, but we're not going to talk about that. We can't talk about that.
Here's another one I'll just play as I think this is just music or something. Let's look at the Tax the Rich dress here.
Careful with the music. I don't want you to get a copyright.
That's nice. This looks
I mean,
like
great cut. Yeah, pretty girl.
yeah. This looks like an accomplishment. That they
Yeah,
list this in the
totally.
article is this looks like a this
It's
looks
gotta
like an
be.
accomplishment. Being able to wear
Totally.
Tax the Rich, right? She's bringing eyes to a topic. Tax the Rich. They might as well give her credit for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that really
Look
looks
at her.
like
She's
something.
so full of herself too. Look at her.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The narcissism is so apparent. I mean, it's just on full display. And I don't know,
Yeah.
man. It's something. It's something to watch. It is. It is something to watch. And she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Thomas. She does look nice. She's a pretty girl. Like she's. I mean, she's no question about it. But I'm sorry, I'm not impressed by putting tax the rich on your dress. You're a member of Congress. You could, do something about that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and here's another one, Jimmy. This will be the last one, and then I'll get final words and let us know what's going to happen on your
I
show
can tell
tonight,
you part of the
Misty.
problem
But
with
let's listen
her
to this
district-
final video.
Sabby!
Sabby
I
and
love Sabby.
Jimmy.
And JD, of course.
So who are these people who still believe in her? Who are the people who I don't understand who the people in her district are who don't see through her?
Well, I can tell you part of the problem with her district, because I've talked to a couple people that live in her district, nobody's challenging her. No one's
There
really, there's
now.
nobody like, no one on the left is really like trying to primary challenge her. That's part of the problem. So she's like a guaranteed shoe-in there. The other thing too, when they go and do these speaking engagements, all of them came to the Boston area here. They went to the PMC class neighborhoods. Like they weren't trying to go see people that live in places like Everett or like Chelsea, like we're working class communities. They went to the college areas. They went over there near Harvard University, those types of places. That is who their base is now. Their base in the beginning, it used to be more working class, but now I see that they have adapted to that same like PMC group that the establishment Democrats have. Those are a lot of the people who are still supporting them. That's a big part of the problem.
So, yeah, so now they've shifted just like Chuck Schumer. So now their constituency is Hillary Clinton's constituency, is Chuck Schumer's constituency. It's the white college-educated liberals in the suburbs. That's who AOC appeals to because it makes them feel good. Look, this woman of color, I support her. As she gaslights and fucks over the working class.
That's pretty spot on from that clip, and I'll play a little more in a little bit later. But I do want to bring up this article headline that you sent in the chat.
Yeah,
I just saw it late.
Drop that in the chat. That's the article I mentioned earlier that Whitney Webb wrote. It is a complete annihilation of the Green New Deal.
Yes, and it's on, is it called MR or Mr. Online?
I think it's MR. I mean, obviously you can find it on Whitney's website as well, I'm sure. But she always laughs because when I share it, it's like 4 years old now. And anytime somebody brings up the Green New Deal and I share it, she gets like a couple more hits on it. She's always like, what is going on? But yeah, it's Whitney Webb. So it's very well researched.
Yeah.
And yeah. Good stuff.
All right, Misty. We've gotten close to when you have to head out for your radio show. So tell people about what is happening on tonight's show. It's tonight because I saw your schedule, but I'll let you say it. I won't say it free.
Fiorella's on tonight. So it starts at 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. on TNT Radio, tntradio.live. Fiorella's on tonight. Jimmy Dore's on tomorrow. And then I think I have Miles, who's a London Assange activist. They have an event coming on in September that they want to hype. So I think he's coming on Friday, but we're still working out the details on that. And I need to get Kathy Vogan needs to come on. She's got an Assange article out that she wants to discuss on the show. So I'm trying to get that. I may ask him to switch with her so we can get her in earlier. So feast tonight, coming up in about 26 minutes. And then tomorrow is Jimmy Dore. I'm sure everybody's going to want to tune in for that. He's awesome. So, and I just had George Galloway on Monday, which was awesome. And that's the playbacks up for that if you want to go check that out. It was really good. So, and thanks for having me on. It was good to rant about this. It was fun. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, no, it's great to have a fellow ranter on for this particular topic. This topic in particular, I should say. So, but thank you, Misty, for joining me on such short notice. And I will put you in the back. And I'm only going to be on, everybody, for a few more minutes just to tidy up a couple of more receipts to this article and get prepared for when we're going to, because, Misty's radio show is coming up. And I'm not sure if Nick has decided to go live or not for Nick at Night. So I can't announce the show yet, but let's listen to a couple of more videos and then we'll finish up that article.
Was it worth doing present? Because it didn't really satisfy anyone. The supporters of Israel are mad at you for not voting for it. Critics of Israel are mad at you for not voting against it. Do you regret that?
It is something that I weigh because there's always the macro and then there's the micro. And in the macro of narrative, of politics, of national impact, I probably should have just gone with my value. But in the macro, which would be to vote no. But in the micro, I do believe that this created a window in our community to be able to bring all folks to the table, because my great fear is that we are going to import the same sort of contention around this issue. And we can have a progressive movement that defends Palestinian human rights, that is Muslim, Christian, Jewish. So in the micro, I believe that it created a window of opportunity for us in the Bronx. But in the macro, it was very difficult. Yes.
So I guess this critique of this nonsense would fall under, according to the article, would fall under the more trivial stuff. The petty, I forget the phrasing, petty something they call it. The critique that will fall under the category of being a little less serious, I guess. All right, let's play one more here. Now, remember when Anna went off
elected lawmakers to protect us from.
Oh, what happened? Just clicked on it. Let's go back to it. Let's go back to Anna.
Elected lawmakers to protect us from these religious zealots and these right-wing authoritarians. Man, we have another thing coming. How many times do we need to be disappointed by them? I'm done with them. And personally, I don't speak for everyone in this network. I want to be clear. I'm speaking for myself. I'm done with them completely. The Democratic Party, every single one of them, that includes the squad, I don't care anymore. They have not delivered. They have not delivered. I'm done. Okay. It's time to organize, create organizations that get women and get people in this country what they need. People who are willing to pick up the slack for these disgusting, feckless, corrupt politicians. That's what we need to focus on.
Okay, so let's be clear. Anna was triggered by the Democratic Party, the squad, not doing anything. And I would put Anna in sort of the category of the writer of this article. Professional, managerial, class type left. That's who Anna is. And also this guy. Now, he talks about them people highly now, but let's listen to Cal Kalinske.
67%. Here's how many people it would help. Here's the minimum wage should be, if it kept up with productivity, over $20 an hour. And people are going to fight with us about 15? You don't even want to put 15 in there? Pfft, fuck out of here. Fight! 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 And if you're not going to do it, then don't whine when people attack you.
He's talking about the squad in AOC. Talking about how they have no fight. And if you don't fight, then don't be mad when somebody attacks you. And that's the answer Misty and I have during this.
Don't get upset when people come after you, because they have every right to come after you if you're not doing the thing that we sent you there to do. So people have been more than patient, man. They've been more than patient. And the left doesn't have much to show for their tactics of, well, every now and then I will work with Pelosi and I'll say nice things, and then maybe she'll give me some things if I say nice things to her, and then from now on, maybe we'll have an open working relationship, and then when I ask for the next progressive thing, maybe she'll put it in.
Is he supposed to sound like the guy from The Office? No. Office Space, the movie Office Space? The guy who got sent down in the basement level with his office. He had very thick glasses and he talked like to himself. Is that who that's who's Kyle is mimicking here? He's doing a pretty good job. He has the voice a little bit.
For their tactics of, well, every now and then I will work with Pelosi and I'll say nice things, and then maybe she'll give me some things if I say nice things to her, and then from now on, maybe we'll have an open working relationship, and then when I ask for the next progressive thing, maybe she'll put it in there. It hasn't worked. It's never going to work. Make them hate you. And by the way, they think the media shitting on them and Democratic leadership shitting on them will ruin their future prospects. You'll become more popular if you do it. I promise you, you'll become more popular. But you have to take on the fight and never back down and never shut up and never stop speaking your mind about what you believe in. So I think Kashama Sawant is exactly right about this. She clearly completely gets, the strategy that we were attempting to do. And she's probably the answer. She's the one who needs to be in Congress, or she's the one who needs to be in the Senate, because she ain't going to back down. She's going to lead the fight. And you know what happens, guys? Usually
That's amazing to find content from this guy, Kyle, that sounds more like something RBN would be able to get on board with. He doesn't talk like this anymore. You deserve all the criticism you're getting, Squad and AOC. This guy saying it, the professional managerial class NATO left guy. Talking about what you're calling accomplishments. Basically describing them similar to what we would describe them as nothing, as crumbs of crumbs. And then you have this Jacobin article that essentially is taking a picture of crumbs and then taking it to the local FedEx Kinko to get it blown up and saying, look. Let's listen to the rest of Kyle's video.
All it takes is one. All it takes is one person to show a little bit of fucking spine, and then the rest of them hop on board. But, listen, it is sad, because what does it show you? It shows you that these people who we sent there, who we hoped were leaders, none of them are leaders. They're all followers. They are. I'm sorry. As much as I like some of them, they're all followers. They're waiting for somebody else to take the risk. And then when they take the risk and they see, like, oh, this guy didn't fall, when they suddenly start advocating for that position. Oh, me too. You know when this happened recently? And this isn't even one that I necessarily agree with, but it's one where they decided, oh, we're going to puff our chest out and fight. When it came to expelling.
I don't know what he was about to say, but that's a classic video that I have to save and repost occasionally because
67%.
Because of the clown that we call Kyle Kalinske, who he has turned into. But let's bring up the article and finish up. We'll be getting out of here in probably less than 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. I'll say 5 to 10 minutes. We'll be ending the stream. This is the only topic we're talking about today. So let's finish up the article. Let's continue here. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, has worked with progressive organizations on other legislation and campaigns. In 2019, the Congresswoman introduced a 6-page legislative package named A Just Society, focusing on everything from anti-poverty initiatives to improving working conditions, with her Place to Prosper Act, including national rent and control and beefed up tenant protections. Now, again, this is her first year in office, 2019. Back when people used to believe in her, back when she was joined, I forget, I don't know if it was the Sunrise Movement or some activist climate group was outside of Nancy Pelosi's office door, and she joined them. This is that AOC. The stuff, the 3 of the 4 items I've read so far, maybe 4 of the 5 items I've read so far, are all from those years. 3, 4, and sometimes 5 years ago. 2018. Yeah, 5 years ago. Let's continue. Quote, the Center for Popular Democracy worked closely with the Congresswoman on the housing portion of the package, end quote. The organization's co-director, Anayalia Mejia, told Jacobin that included joining CPD affiliates for several mobilizations over housing, including on an August 2019 Welcome Back Congress action that saw hundreds of protesters turn up at House members' offices. What this article bogs you down in tedious descriptions of crumbs. Tedious descriptions of crumbs. I should say not tedious. Let me use a different word. Meticulous descriptions of crumbs. The overall perspective, the question is, is it good enough? All the so-called wins in this article are those wins. If we stack those up with the L's, which would be higher? Which would be heavier on a scale? Like, you're literally talking the Great Wall of China versus your neighbor's gate. They're both kind of barriers. One is your neighbor's gate. The other one is the Great Wall of China. Let's read a little more and then close out here. Finally, this is under Seeds of Radicalism. Finally, there's the somewhat more nebulous role AOC and the squad have played in the political shifts of the past years. The process of political transformation is messy and chaotic. Desperate actions add up little by little, then suddenly building up pressure on those in power, expanding the bonds of what's possible and creating momentum for change. It's undeniable that the squad, by virtue of their work in Congress and acting as a conduit for outside groups, have been integral to this. That is absolutely not undeniable. That is absolutely false. You are stating facts that are not in evidence, sir. AOC's Green New Deal resolution might be one of the most impactful pieces of legislation that never became law. Simply by generating the level of publicity and debate it did, something hard to imagine without her involvement, the measure has directly inspired similar versions at the state and city levels and even in other countries. This article has, they're doing something different in this article than some other articles. This is one of the first articles that is kind of trying to, what's the right word? trying to quantify the essence of the squad, trying to quantify the supposed influence of the squad as something we're supposed to use as something as a something we're getting for putting them in office. So that's the only way this article is even this long. It's because it's meticulous descriptions of crumbs. Imagine if you took a crumb, you blew it up, and you described each of the little craters and corners and jagged edges. That's essentially what they're doing here with this article, and trying to turn the essence, the very essence, the very aura of the squad into a thing. I think I mean I'm gonna have to leave it here because hang on a second here. Okay, left-wing scrutiny of the squad and particularly AOC has steadily veered from constructive criticism and needed to pressure a kind of caricaturish vitriol. More than that, a number of popular pandemic-era policies had antecedent in or receive critical public support from the squad. I didn't read this far. I'm amazed myself. So you're kind of getting me being shocked at the level of this is like fantasy talk. This is like old folks' tales of cowboys. Resisting despair. AOC and the rest of the squad are elected officials. There's any number of criticism of their time in Congress that are fair, reasonable, and necessary, including over key votes they've been on the wrong side on. Times they failed to stand with unions and their failure to, as promised, fully take advantage of the leverage they've had under the Democratic, formerly slim House majority. Left-wing scrutiny of the squad and particularly Representative AOC has steadily, we read this part, steadily magnified to caricature of vitriol. One that magnifies the ways they've fallen short while saying nothing about their accomplishments nor usefulness to activists and worker movement, because they haven't. That's not a thing. Sometimes you suspect the most unfair critics have taken their anger and frustration at the conservative corporate controlled political system in which they have to operate and simply redirected it at the Congresswoman's herself. No, it's what she's doing and not doing. She's not fighting. And this is a blind spot of the professional managerial class. They have no idea what a fight looks like. None. So they have no idea when or whether or not to determine whether the squad is fighting because they don't go and they're not in fights. What's at stake isn't the feeling of one member of Congress or even the squad's career, but the health of the socialist and broader progressive movement. The health of the socialists in the United States have zero to do with these clowns you call the squad. Zero. Nothing at all. The left and the progressive movement is dead. We covered this yesterday. The Bernie Sanders movement is dead. Something like 12,000. DSA lost like 12,000 members in 2022 or 21. I can't remember. Just as Democrats just laid off a bunch of people because of money. Donations have dried up. Nina Turner was not able to be reelected twice. There is clearly a pivot in this former left coalition where people have completely checked out. And it's a direct result of the squad, or a direct result of the lack of production from the squad. So let me continue to read. The left pessimism embodied by the New York Times magazine profile, which argues explicitly that socialists have nothing to show for 5 years of electoral victories and that the whole experiment should be abandoned, is a recipe for despair, apathy, and in the end, demobilization. No, or it's a recipe to mobilize outside of the red-blue game. It's a recipe to mobilize and hop off the blue boat and hop on the green boat with Dr. Cornel West. It's a recipe for people to finally wake up and say, we have been bamboozled and fooled for far too long. It's time for us to check out of this abusive relationship. So that's where the left pessimism is going. Not in this nonsense that you're trying to pretend, a recipe for despair and apathy. We are already despair. The despair is what's causing him to leave the democratic process through the blue team, which may already be having a trickle-down effect. It's a self-defeating, possibly self-fulfilling prophecy that threatens to undermine socialist gains. There have been no socialist gains. You lying magazine Jacobin, there has been none. You are shielding for the people who are confusing people's understanding of socialism. You are participating in the miseducation of socialism, Jacobin. Ironically, at the exact same time the movement is racking up victories it hasn't seen in many decades, because there is none. There is none. This is one of the most worst, terriblest, and I'm making up words, advocacy for your position here. This article is terrible and falls supremely short of retorting Freddie Deboer's article. It falls supremely short of that. Let's read a couple of super chats here. Start from the bottom, or start from the top, because some of these are in order here. I do not trust them to do anything for people anymore. They have health care now. Love you guys. I switched to YouTube. Let the ads play out and send super chats. Do no harm. Take no shit. Rant, rant, rant. Thank you, Sarah, for the super chat. Here's one from Janice. Misty, you were ahead of the pack. There are still burners propagandized. I had one as if I regret my support 2016 and blocked me when I said yes. That sounds like I mean, if you're still a burner today, I mean, come on. You belong in an insane asylum if you still are on that boat. Here, thank you, Janice, for that. Here's a couple from Eric, brand new member of RBN community on YouTube. Let's just reform the U.S. torture program. We torture some people. We torture some folks. Oopsie. And then Eric also sends this one, but we are going to get sunscreen deregulation. Great points. Thank you for those super chat. I'm going to actually read some other. I'm going to also read some of these, some of your comments here. Let me see if there's another video I want to play. I played most of the videos I saved here. That one. Oh, no. There is one from Kim Iverson I do want to play. Make sure we get into these segments. And I don't know if Aaron, our editor, is going to break this up into a couple of clips, or there's going to be, there's probably break this. So Aaron, break this into a couple of clips since we're only doing one story. So I guess I answered my own question. But here is Kim Iverson. AOC calls for big tech and her army of supporters to censor people before they can spread disinformation. So this is AOC. This is Kim Iverson pointing out AOC attempting to push censorship. So the good old people at the Jacobin magazine, what does this part fall on? Does this fall on the good stuff or the bad stuff that AOC?
I really wanted to like AOC, but when she pulls this kind of stuff, this just gets really, really scary to me. So this is a letter that she sent out for her. This is from her campaign. This is the Alexandria Ocasio Democrat for Congress. This is a fundraising campaign. And she goes, she starts up, as we speak, right-wing operatives with millions of followers on social media are spreading flat-out lies and misleading information about Alexandria. But with your help, we can force Twitter and Facebook to take action and enforce their own rules. What's so frustrating about these attacks is that once the truth comes out, so few people get to hear it. Hundreds of thousands or potentially millions of people will have already seen or shared the misleading tweets or fake news articles. Scan your social media to find posts with this misleading information, especially those using the trending hashtag. Don't tweet any hashtags yourself because we don't want to spread them further. Identify any posts that are threatening or harassing and use the built-in report features to flag them for moderators. Facebook and Twitter both have built-in tools for reporting posts and tweets that break the rules. So can you believe this? She's absolutely advocating for people to go on social media and hunt down a witch hunt of disinformation. She wants people to go around and find these misleading posts with these hashtags and report them and force Facebook and Twitter to take these posts down, calling for censorship, saying that, well, it's just too bad that this is out there. And so we need to stop it. And she says, so go out there as an army and combat disinformation. But it gets worse. Take a look at this tweet that she sent out. She says, the sad thing about disinformation is that once the truth comes out, the damage has already been done. People have already been misled, radicalized, and believe lies to the point where their hatred has brewed to violence. That's what led to the 6th, and it's happening right now. So what she's been calling for is for media companies, for big tech to do their job and censor people before the information can even get out there. This is frightening. This is to me the most damaging thing that could be done to our country at the moment.
So Kim Iverson with a great critique of AOC, or a great find, I should say, of them trying to censor. So is this part of the socialist plan? Is this messing up the understanding and the reach of socialism, Jacobin? What she's doing here? Let's play another. Wait, hang on a second. It is this one. I have so many tabs open. So let's play another video that is Kim. I played that one. Here's another one here. Here's another one here. Less than a minute.
I would just say exactly what I just said before. We're not canceling the squad. The squad is canceling America if they don't fight and use the leverage that they have. The worst abuse of power is having power and not using it. And they have it right now. And if they fail to do that, everyone sees what they're doing. And it will completely decimate anyone who runs for office as a progressive ever again, because they'll see that they're not fighting. So what we're asking is for you to fight, do everything, scratch and claw to give people health care in the middle of a deadly pandemic. And if you don't, you are canceling America, and everyone will see that, because you do have the power. Who do you answer to? Do you answer to the Democratic Party, or do you answer to the movement? Do you answer to your voters, or do you answer to oligarchs? That's what everyone's watching right now. And there ain't no amount of bullshit that's going to get you out of it. That's what I say.
Now, remember the article said AOC and the squad, they're very responsive to movements and activists on the ground. That's what this is about. This is a pressure campaign to get them to force a vote. You saw Breonna Joy Gray come together along with Katie Halpert, along with Jimmy Dore, to talk about this. And I think Crystal Ball was on here too. Maybe not the stream, but she was part of the coalition that was for it. And now you know, a lot of these people don't even get along anymore. That tells you.
I say.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah. So Bree, you see in the corner, and you see Justin Jackson, LA Charger running back. Actually, he just retired. And then Katie Halper, and you see Jimmy Dore came together about this. Did they respond? Completely ignored this. Now let's listen to this one. Let's listen to this one here.
Out of nowhere began complaining and screaming and whining about how Twitter didn't censor enough. Here is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She out of nowhere began complaining and screaming and whining about how Twitter didn't censor enough tweets about her. I know you'll be shocked to learn that she tried to turn it into a hearing about herself and her own victimhood, claiming that Donald Trump's tweets inspired hatred against her and demanding to know why Twitter didn't do more to delete them. In other words, she wanted more censorship. That was her anger, was that they allowed the sitting president of the United States to speak too freely. I think she was the only one on either side of the aisle in this committee hearing who kept asserting that the authenticity of these materials remains in doubt to this very day. Nobody thinks that. The New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, CBS have all acknowledged, now that the election is safely over, that they could fully authenticate these materials. It takes a level of audacity, or maybe it's just ignorance. I actually think that's what it was. She has no idea what she's talking about. She shows up for these hearings looking for dramatic moments that will viralize on social media. I don't think she knows that every major media outlet has authenticated these materials. I authenticated them. Many media outlets authenticated them before the election. But the ones she trusts have now come out and said there's no question, not only are they authentic, but the story about how they made their way first to the FBI and then to the Rudy Giuliani and the New York Post was entirely true. But what she's really angry about is any of this is even being looked into at all. She continues to call this authentic archive disinformation. I mean, she's just a blatant liar. I'm really asking that. Even a lot of the Democrats on the committee were willing to acknowledge that the materials are authentic. No one to this day calls that disinformation anymore, except her. She considers to this day what the New York Post did to be immoral, even though it was accurate reporting, because the only moral metric they recognize, as Sam Harris said, is whether or not it helps defeat Donald Trump.
You got knocked the fuck out, man.
That's Turncoat Don with a classic AOC. It's Glenn Greenwald calling out AOC here. Here goes Sabrina talking to Bree on the heel and Robbie about AOC's appearance.
So, AOC for president, what are your thoughts?
I would not vote for AOC for president. And it's not so much about I would say her political ideology, because I came out of the Bernie Sanders movement. I heavily supported AOC when she ran the first time. My issue with AOC is I feel like she wants to be more of a celebrity and less of a politician. I would really like to see her organize with people on the ground. I feel like she has a large following. We could use that support, those of us who are organizing on the ground. And what I've seen from her, it seems like she just wants to go along with what the corporate Democrats in DC want. She's going along with people like Nancy Pelosi. We saw the switch from when she first entered Congress and she was protesting outside of Nancy Pelosi's office. And then she went from that to calling Pelosi Mama Bear. So it's very clear to me, I think she wants to be a career politician, which is what she said that she would actually go against. When she first started running, she said she didn't care if she was a one-term congressperson. And obviously, I don't think that's true today. So I think that the problem that I have with AOC is I don't feel like she's actually fighting for these progressive issues the way that she said that she would. And I feel like she's starting to use identity politics as an excuse for people not to support her if she were to run for president. She may not realize she's making herself come across like a victim. And I felt like that interview with GQ, it was depressing. That's not inspiring. And we're not saying that you can't talk about the challenges I think that you are facing, like as a progressive in DC. We're not saying you can't talk about that, but look, I'm in an interracial relationship. Yeah, there are challenges that come across with that. Deal with it. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't just blame everything that's happening to you, every bad thing that's happening to you on identity politics. So I think that if AOC wants to run for president, I think that she first has to be able to handle these situations that she's going through now. And I don't feel like she's doing a good job at doing that. And she's going to have even more pressure if you run for president.
That's Sab. Again, yes. Yes. JD is on. I think he's out. Let me know if he's back, actually. Let me know if Jimmy Dore, who should be started already, he starts at 3 my time, 3 his and I time. Got that one. Several Turncoat Don videos. Is there any other ones? I got that one. Yes, let's go. We got a Nick video. Let's go with this one.
I will make the argument that it takes a special kind of evil and maliciousness to do what AOC and Bernie Sanders has done. And the professional managerial class, for the most part, has protected them from the reckoning that is going to come. This reckoning, and you see the increased anger about AOC and Bernie. Even Jacobin now has the balls to criticize AOC and Bernie Sanders now, just because there's overwhelmingly dislike over her. And her politics has failed. It's just a fact. If you look at how she is as unpopular as Kamala Harris, even though she quote unquote support popular policies, that because her politics and her willingness to be just a PR agent of a Democratic Party while stealing working class people's money has grossly offended the real left. And my friend, Comrade Missy, predicted that she's going to be the next Nancy Pelosi, and that's exactly what's going on. When you look at her pro-war votes, when you see how she's whipping support for the Democratic Party, that is exactly what her role is right now. She's completely abandoned the left.
The transformation is complete. She basically is Nancy Pelosi now. Politico welcomed her to the fold just a few months ago with an article entitled, The Evolution of AOC, and the subheadline was something like, she went from being an outsider to the ultimate team player. The thing that I find so sickening about it is that in reality, she and Bernie, who convinced people they were waging a war against the Democratic establishment, what makes AOC and Bernie so insidious is that in a lot of ways, they've become the most important weapon of the Democratic Party establishment. It's the most valuable asset. At the same time, they were pretending to undermine it because you don't need to convince Rachel Maddow fans to go and vote Democrat. They're going to vote Democrat no matter what. What you need are the kind of younger people who don't really like the Democratic Party, whose self-identity depends on keeping the Democratic Party at a distance, who may not vote, who may vote for Cornel West as a protest. And AOC and Bernie are the ones who lead those people, the ones you really need to get out their asses and go vote every 2 years and to vote for the Democratic Party without fail. So at the same time, they're telling people and collecting money based on the fraudulent image that they're enemies of the Democratic Party establishment. They, in fact, are its most important instruments.
Great. So Pasta is still hosting over there on the JD show, Jimmy Dore show. So for those that were wondering. All right. So now the final video to take us out. Thank you, everybody who watched today. And the same intro video. It wasn't an intro video because the intro video didn't work. It's the same pre-show video that we played like 10 minutes before we started. If you watched the stream for its entirety, we played about 9 minutes of a clip where Jimmy Dore is tearing into the fraud squad. And we will play a little more of that on our way out. And thank you for watching today. That's it. Just doing one story. Wasn't supposed to go this long either, but 2 hours, I'll take it. I'm going to head out now with the girls, my little girls. So I will see everybody possibly tomorrow. I think we have Cornel West tomorrow. I'll check and get the graphic out. Let me see if Nick is going live. I can tell you if Nick is going live in a second here. It's already 3. He hasn't posted anything there. Let me check one more place to see if Nick is going live today, so I can kind of give you a heads up for those that might catch or those that catch Nick at night. Actually, let me put this up since this is something I just saw him tweet. So let me put this up here. This right here, Nick just shouted out. You have JB's chapter in Orlando having an event this weekend. And then you have Nick, who is fundraising for his chapter. They're going to be doing something at the KC chapter. So school supplies. So he's raising money to do a giveaway of school supplies. School's coming up in Minnesota. It's already started in parts of California, but this is the fundraiser he's holding. You see the Venmo, you see the Cash App. If you're able to donate to the KC fundraiser for school supply donations, please do so. But still no posting of actual stream. So I don't think he's streaming today. Actually, you know what? He could still do it technically. So let me take that back. I'm gonna say he's not streaming. I'll just keep it to where he hasn't said anything yet. Oh, actually. Okay, no, he's not. Okay, so he's not streaming. All right. So we can now take off. Thank you for watching.
They fucking ran on. Are you out of your fucking mind? That we have to be nicer to them to get them to do what they fucking ran on? You're a cuck if you don't fucking hold their feet to the fire. They ran on it. The DSA, it's in their goddamn fucking manifesto that this is the centerpiece and they wouldn't get on it. Shame them. That's what fucking works. You think this happened because I was fucking nice to them? No, it's because I finally started holding the Justice Democrats to account for their bullshit. That's why this happened, not because I was fucking nice. And that's what's wrong with the left. They're a bunch of fucking mealy-mouthed, spineless pricks who don't do a fucking thing. The moment came and they did nothing. And they sold you out for their careers. I don't care if they don't take corporate money. They are a brand. They are a celebrity fucking brand. They sold you out for their own careers, their own celebrity brand, and their own fucking protection. That's what they did. What is the point of voting for people who don't take corporate money if they fucking go along with the people who do? There's no point. This is a failed experiment. This is a failed experiment. If you don't recognize that the progressive movement is unbelievably fucking decimated, and that they won't even fight a little, and you don't see this as an existential crisis, the squad agrees with us, our policy positions, but when they won't do anything to implement them, it doesn't fucking matter. When Ro Khanna comes on my show and says, I think we should force a vote for Medicare for all, and then a chance comes up to do it and he doesn't do it, it doesn't matter that he says it or agrees with my position, does it? No. In politics, the only thing that matters is the outcome. It doesn't matter how the sausage gets made. The outcome is what matters. I don't care. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And if you're not willing to threaten the Justice Democrats and scare the shit out of them, they're going to do exactly what they just did yesterday. Sell you out for their own celebrity and career, which is what happened. The vast majority of Democratic voters want Medicare for all. Progressive independents want it. Even a majority of Republicans polled, yet the Progressive Caucus squandered their golden opportunity. We still came out to advocate for forced to vote. God bless those people. Dr. McGowan, God bless you. The Socialist Alternative jumped on board. They endorsed our hashtag forced to vote. Socialist Alternative endorsed it. DSA didn't, even though it's in their manifesto. But I guess we shouldn't, we shouldn't shame them. I jump on board their idea and they come and attack me. I jump on board the Justice Democrats' idea and they come and attack me. That's what they're fucking doing. AOC tried to sick her neoliberals on me by saying I was causing violence, when all I was doing was was exactly what AOC told me to do, which was stop using polite language. She said it. Stop using polite language. Until you make people uncomfortable, nothing will happen. She got uncomfortable, didn't she? Yes. Didn't Mark Pocan? Yes, they did. Ro Khanna is so fucking uncomfortable. Every one of his interns wrote him a letter, and today he came out with fucking bullshit about how we could get Medicare for all, which is complete bullshit. That's how uncomfortable he is. They're all scrambling. Not because we were fucking nice, but because they know we're all watching and we're going to hold their feet to the fire now. So hold their feet to the fire. Quit making fucking excuses for them. Unbelievable. I'm not making this up. This is the existential crisis we're living in. And if you don't want to hold the Justice Democrats' feet to the fire, it's probably because you have fucking health care.